till now, we have been speaking from chapters, brief review, chapters 1. Well, one gave us the fact that we have two souls. Then we went into the godly soul, chapters 2 to 5. Chapters 6 to through 8, the animal soul and its definition. Then 9 through 17, about how we can create a love and awe of God by contemplation, by using our minds. The mind has dominion over the heart. It's the basic idea. Then what we just finished, chapters 18 through 25, it's not about developing and creating a love, but it's about connecting to the love that we already have for God. That's in our soul. That's the makeup of our very being, our very soul, that is. And we just need to be able to expose it. It's called the hidden love, the Ava Esoteris, and how we're capable of coming to a recognition that everything is about a connect or disconnect to God, and therefore using every opportunity, every moment of our day to find the connection and make certain that we don't disconnect. And that's what we spoke until now. So the truth is, in a sense, you can say Tanya has taught us everything we need to know. Well, almost. We still have many more chapters to go. So what is it going to teach us now? Well, that's in a perfect world. In a perfect world where you can find the hidden love in your soul, or develop the love for God through contemplation, meditation, by awareness of the greatness of God, that the mind has dominion over the heart and develops, whether it's a palpable feeling in the heart or it's a understanding heart. In a perfect world, we have all the tools, but we don't live in a perfect world. Meaning, there are times that a curveball is sent our way. Things happen that deaden our heart, that the heart is not accessible, not through the mind, and not through finding the hidden love that we have in our very soul. And we need to arouse it. But before we can do that, we have to be somewhere that we can touch that part within me. I have to have joy in my life, as we're going to learn. And if I don't have joy, joy is not happiness. Happiness is about the way I define it, at least, is about acquiring things. It's not about acquiring things. Joy is about a disposition. So when you have atzvus, which this chapter 26 in one word, atzvus, meaning sadness. Sadness, the opposite of joy, that doesn't then allow you to touch your soul from within, doesn't allow you to use your mind to penetrate the heart, and you need to deal with that. And there's many reasons why that might come, and the Alter Rebbe will deal with that. But first, he sets the cardinal principle that we need to know, that, and he uses as a metaphor. The metaphor is that if you have a wrestling match between two opponents, and one is stronger and is more capable than the other, but that person is having an off day, meaning they're kind of sluggish, they're not focused, maybe there's something going on in their life that's kind of bringing them down. Well, they're going to lose the wrestling match, because it's not about who is stronger and more capable, but it's the person who has the alacrity and is not sluggish that will ultimately be the victor. It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for us in our lives. If we are sluggish, if we are allowing our evil inclination to be lazy, why? Because we have some kind of sadness. We're down. Life, the curveball came, and it brought you down. So your heart isn't responsive. Why? Because you have a worry in your heart. You have a sadness. So then you're not able to have the alacrity that you need in order to fight the day's battle. And that alacrity comes from joy. Joy, true joy, meaning that you really have no worries. You have no sadness at all because of the trust that you have in God, and which we will get to, how you can get there when there are things that get you down. So that's where we're going to deal with. This is the ultimate self-help, God's guide. All the self-help books do not come to the wisdom that we're going to be learning over here. If anything, they take some ideas from here, so then they can help the self. So the Alter Rebbe quotes from a verse that says, every sadness, there will be a profit. So he explains, well, we just said sadness is not a good thing because it doesn't give you the alacrity, it doesn't give you the swiftness, it doesn't give you the zeal in life that you can deal with your day. You need joy to have that zeal, to have that alacrity, to engage. But now we are saying that there is a profit in sadness. So the Alter Rebbe explains, well, it means that in sadness itself, and when we're talking about sadness over here, not sadness because, oh, I didn't get what I want in life, but sadness over my state of life, that I'm not what I could be because of sins, because of lack. I'm not living up to what God needs of me and wants of me. That's a justified sadness, right? So there can be a bitterness of soul because of my situation in a justified manner, as we will learn later in the suitable time to have that. But even that is only a means to an end. What is the sadness? Is only that you own your stuff and you deal with it. What's the profit? What does it mean? That sadness has a profit to it. In other words, there's no value in and of itself. It's only what comes through it. The justified sadness is because now you own and deal with it, and that what comes out of it is greater joy. That's the profit. That is the profit, that we come to a greater level of joy. And this is the idea that greater is light that comes out of darkness. Greater is wisdom that comes out of folly. Now, of course, light is better than darkness and wisdom is better than folly. But what it means is, the teachings of King Solomon, is that coming from a dark place, coming from a place of foolishness, of folly, when you deal with that, the light and the wisdom is so much greater. It's so much greater. And furthermore, as the verse says, because you did not serve God with joy, therefore you will serve your enemies, your negative side. Meaning, you got to serve God with joy, not because you got things, not because God gave you something. Oh, now I'm joyful because God, no. The service has to be with joy. Because then when you have the joy, you can deal with your struggles. You can go through your day and deal with your challenges. So it has to be with joy. That was the first part, which was really yesterday's teachings. Now the Alter Rebbe says, sound advice that's offered by the sages and how you can cleanse your heart from sadness and any trace of worries when it comes to mundane matters, meaning we're worried or we're sad. Why? Because we're lacking in essentials of life. Children, whether it's having children, or whether it's the joy, the nachas that we have from children, or whether it's the challenges are in raising children. Health, we're worried or saddened because of our health or the health of a loved one. And livelihood, real essential things of life. Not livelihood that, I wanted the fancy car rather than just a car that serves a purpose. The real essentials of life that we might be challenged with, that can bring us down, can even make us sad. So the Alter Rebbe says, remember, we got to be joyful. We can't have a trace of worry. There's so much to go through over here. Every line is detailed with untold wisdom. Told wisdom. But we'll do our best to give it over. So the advice is based on what the sages say, that we should bless and thank God just as we thank him for the good. We have to thank him, and we do thank him, for that which is difficult, that which is visibly misfortune. So that which is fortunate, we bless him. Misfortune, we also bless him. What do we, God forbid someone passes away, we make a blessing. We bless God. We say, Baruch Daina Emes, that God is the true judge. So there is a distinctive blessing, one versus the other. That God is good and he does good is for the revealed fortune we get in our lives from God, that we thank him. But for the misfortune, we also thank him. Meaning, not only thank him, but we need to take it with joy. How? How can we do that if it's not apparent to the mortal eye? So when we will think the following, everything comes from God. So the good we get, it comes from him, and the misfortune comes from him. It all comes from God's name. Yud Ke Vav Ke. Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey. Shem Havaya, the Tetragrammaton. It is the source of vitality. And everything comes from above. Everything that I get is only, obviously, from God. But it comes from two different possibilities. The first two letters or the last two letters of God's name. The first two letters, Yud and Hey, refer to the higher world, and the last two letters, Vav and Hey, refer to the lower world. The higher world is called Alma Diskasya, the hidden world. These two letters, the last two letters, are the revealed world, Alma Disgalia, as it's called in Aramaic, actually. This is higher, this is greater, a more closeness to God than this part of God's name, as it reflects itself in the source of life above. This is the hidden world versus the revealed world. Hidden means that it's so great that the goodness that comes from God, because God is only good, so what comes from God can only be good, but this is a hidden good. A hidden good that comes down here, that the light is so bright, like when you look at the sun, and it's so bright that it's blinding. And we experience it as misfortune. This is a revealed world. The light is so much less that we experience it as revealed good. This is a hidden good that's too great. So when a person will recognize that this is coming from a deeper place from the divine order of things, from a closer place, as it were, from God, then a person, when it comes to them, they'll be happy. Why would they be happy? It's not revealed good. It's experienced as misfortune, because they'll recognize, and this takes a level. But we need to first understand this intellectually and then commit ourselves to this, at least in theory, and hopefully we don't get no misfortune. But when it comes, then we hopefully can access this, is that this is a hidden level closer to the divine order. It is a disguised blessing because it comes from a higher world. And again, everything from God is good. It's a greater good. But it's so great, like the light is blinding when you look at the sun on a bright day. So this is also blinding that we don't experience it. But when we know that it is good, and it's a greater good, not only that, it's actually coming to me because of a greater love that God has for me. Just as the parent chastises their own child rather than the next door neighbor's child, because of the greater love you have for your own child, the greater closeness that you have. You reprimand them, punish them, only because out of love, a deeper love. So likewise, that's what God does. And therefore, when a person will recognize this, that this is coming from my loving God, then you will rejoice in it rather than repudiate it, rather than say, why me? You won't say, why me? Because you know that it's meant for you. You'll say, maybe I don't see the good, but I know that it is only good. And I'm going to rejoice in this just as I would rejoice in what I get revealed good. A person can only do that when the relationship with God is more important than what you get from God. That what God gives me is not as important as that I am connected to Him. If all I'm interested is getting from Him, so then of course, the misfortune you will not be happy with. You won't accept it. But when the relationship is more important, the closest to God is more important, when that misfortune comes, it's coming from the higher world, from the hidden world, which is a greater world above, and therefore you accept it with great joy. As the Alter Rebbe says, and when a person does that, then ultimately in times of Mashiach, when all the hidden world will be revealed, because the sheath that covers over the sun will be removed, and therefore all that which is hidden will now be revealed, and therefore to this person it'll be revealed goodness, literally. Powerful, but what's important over here then is that you're not going to be sad or worried. You'll be accepting and deal with it. Now, this is, of course, easy to say, and this should not be said to someone who's going through a crisis of health. Don't say this to somebody, because this is only what we should be saying to ourselves. You could teach it to somebody, but when they're going through the crisis, we need to be empathetic for the pain and suffering that the person's going through. So let's not mix up things here. This is not to look at somebody else and say, well, listen, it's meant for you. God wants you to go through this. He loves you. While that person is suffering. You could teach it to them at a time that they're not suffering. Or if they're asking because they want to learn, so you could teach the idea. But the mitzvah at that moment is to be empathetic for their pain. What a paradox. Someone else's pain, you're going to be empathetic. And God, why are you putting that person through the pain? But when it's coming to me, this is the message, what Tanya is teaching. It's about how I will deal with it, not how I'm going to tell someone else to deal with it. Someone else, we've got to be empathetic and pray to God. God, take away their pain. That's a mitzvah. But for me to say, why me? That's not a mitzvah. It's called self-love. Why me? That's called self-love. Real love is a recognition that this is the connection to God is more important, and this is bringing me closer. meant to bring me closer. And you see, indeed, this is what happens with, yeah. Again, not an easy thing, but if we start thinking this way, then when the challenges come, it'll be easier. In other words, if it's about the gratification that I get from God, so then I'm only going to be happy with gratifying things. But if it's about the closeness to God and understanding this is from a higher place in divine order, so I will accept it more gladly, at least. It won't bring me down as much. And if I can get to a place it'll be complete acceptance, then it truly will elevate me. Powerful. Any questions? Any thoughts? Truth is, something to spend a lot of time on. Joan is from Brazil, thank you. And Sigalit from New York. Okay, Darren. Saskatchewan, if I remember correctly. Amy, thank you. Ushi, I think it is, from Germany. Probably Shavua Tov. Jane, a good vach to you in the Illinois area. Jim, good morning. Meeks from the Philippines, Shavua Tov. Julie from Florida. Who else? Alice from Baltimore. Thank you for joining. Andre from Indonesia. Thank you for joining. Katya from Toledo. I think. I'm not certain. I got that right. Hassan, shalom to you in Canada, fellow Canadian. Annie. Thank you. Clem from Brisbane. Boker Tov. Katya. Not certain. Oh, welcome. Shavua Tov. Catch that. Who else is with us? Annie. Yes, a niggun always helps to get out of a difficult position that we're in, a melody, a Hasidic melody in particular. Yes, Darren, good point. That there's an inherent joy in the fact that we serve God rather than what we get from God. By the way, from this, all human relationships fit in and are similar to this idea. If the relationship is about what I get from a person, then I'm going to really have ups and downs with that relationship. If the relationship is because of the relationship, in other words, it's my parents, it's my children, it's my spouse, it's my fellow Jew, right? It's this human being. So it's not what I get from them. It's about the relationship. So then it's going to be a much easier. You don't have the expectations of getting something. And there'll be the value of the relationship itself. Annie, Roxana. Yes, Jane, exactly. There's nothing bad that comes from above. It's either revealed good or a hidden good that's not yet revealed, and right. Sigalit, you said you can't see the paper? Oh, you know what? And some people, they get this paper backwards. I don't know why. Some people don't. I think it depends on what your format and what you're seeing the name of God over here or anything that I'm showing. I think it's the format. Rivka from Germany. Hello, Marjorie. Also can't see the page. Okay. Joseph from Brazil. Lily from Estonia. Banish from Philly. Leora. Thank you. Ingrid from Brussels. Michael, good morning. Formerly from Montreal. Migs. Thank you. Catherine from Orange Beach, Alabama. Rosetta from Poland. Thank you. Rachel, Sandy, Tommy, Elaine. All right. Thank you, everybody, for the thanks. Oh, Instagram. A lot of Chayesara, Chani, Shalom from Israel. Okay. From Brazil, Flavia. All right, folks. Sharing is caring. This is today starting a new section. Joy. How to deal with sadness. How to always be full of vitality. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Feinkamp of Chabad Zichron Kadeshim. A reminder that you can catch this teachings in 1 minute. Tanya Rabbi, that you can get on Instagram, Tanya Rabbi, on LinkedIn, Twitter. Please join me there, follow there, so we can spread the teachings of the Alter Rebbe to more and more people. Not everybody is ready to spend a half an hour, but at least a minute. Thank you for joining, and have a wonderful day.